It's early November 2025, and Washington is unusually quiet. Not the kind of quiet that signals calm, but the uneasy pause of a government running on fumes. For more than 40 days now, the United States federal government has been in a partial shutdown, the longest in modern history, according to the Washington Post, November 5, 2025. Agencies are dark, workers are furloughed or working without pay, flights are delayed, research projects frozen, and federal courts rationing resources. The question everyone's asking, is it finally over? The short answer, no, not yet, and the long answer, it's complicated. The shutdown began on October 1, 2025, when Congress missed the annual funding deadline. By law, if lawmakers can pass spending bills, or at least a stopgap known as a continuing resolution, most federal operations grind to a halt. According to Al Jazeera English, October 1, 2025, the breakdown came after weeks of stalemate between House Republicans aligned with former President Trump and Senate Democrats led by Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. At stake wasn't just funding, it was leverage. Republicans demanded deeper cuts to domestic programs and wanted to delay a vote on renewing Affordable Care Act premium subsidies, which were set to expire. Democrats countered that government funding shouldn't be held hostage to healthcare politics. As Reuters reported November 9, 2025, Trump-aligned Republicans insisted on a vote to unwind Obamacare tax credits before considering any budget deal. The result, deadlock. When the government shuts down, the effect ripples outward fast. Essential services like national defense, air traffic control, and emergency medicine continue, but roughly 800,000 federal employees are either furloughed or forced to work without pay. The Associated Press reported that by mid-October, roughly half of Transportation Security Administration staff had called in sick at least once. Airports slowed down. Food inspections were delayed. Loan applications piled up in agencies like the SBA. These are the visible effects, the kind that make headlines. But for policymakers, the real concern is the slow, structural damage. Economic modeling from the Congressional Budget Office estimated the 2025 shutdown could shave $14 billion off GDP if it stretches past Thanksgiving. As Reuters reported on October 29th, and this comes at a time when the economy is already slowing from high interest rates and a cooling labor market. This isn't America's first shutdown, of course. We've been here before, in 2013, when fights over the Affordable Care Act froze Washington for 16 days. And again in 2018 to 2019, when border wall funding sparked a 35-day shutdown, the longest until now, but this time is different. According to Time magazine, November 8, 2025, the 2025 shutdown is as much about power as policy, a proxy fight for control of the post-Trump Republican Party. On one side, Senate Democrats and a handful of moderate Republicans want a short-term continuing resolution, a way to reopen the government while negotiations continue. On the other, a block of hardline House conservatives, encouraged by Trump and backed by Speaker Mike Johnson, insists that any funding bill must include policy concessions. In the words of Politico, November 7, 2025, House leadership is trapped between Trump's demands and Senate arithmetic. And arithmetic is the key word here. In the Senate, almost nothing moves without 60 votes, a threshold requiring at least a handful of cross-party defections. So even if one chamber acts, the other can stall indefinitely. Washington in November 2025 feels like a city in suspended animation. Coffee shops near Capitol Hill are filled with furloughed staffers killing time. Federal buildings buzz only with security guards and maintenance crews. As one anonymous staffer told The Guardian November 7, 2025, it's like waiting for a storm that already hit. We're just sweeping up the pieces. There's exhaustion on both sides of the aisle. and a creeping awareness that each passing day makes compromise harder. According to AP News, November 8, 2025, the Senate has now held 11 procedural votes on competing funding measures. All have failed to break the filibuster. Each vote, each press conference, each carefully phrased statement seems to push the two parties further apart. Because in an election cycle like 2026, every decision, even one about paying park rangers, becomes campaign ammunition. It's easy to think of shutdowns as political theater, but what's actually on the line are programs that affect tens of millions of Americans. Nutrition assistance for children in low-income households, delayed. Veterans benefit processing, slowed. Federal contracts for infrastructure, frozen midstream. As Federal News Network summarized October 20, 2025, the longer agencies stay dark, the harder it becomes to restart complex grant and procurement pipelines. Restarting government doesn't happen with a switch. It takes weeks, sometimes months, to reauthorize, rehire, and reboot. That's why fiscal hawks argue that shutdowns cost more than they save. In 2019, the 35-day closure cost about $11 billion in lost output, according to the CBO. This time, analysts expect that figure could be higher. According to Time magazine, November 9, 2025, a tentative bipartisan framework is emerging in the Senate, a hybrid proposal combining a short-term continuing resolution through February 2026 with a separate vote on the contested health care subsidies. The idea is simple: reopen the government first, debate policy second. But in practice, it's anything but simple. ABC News reported that Senate Minority Whip John Thune offered Democrats exactly that: a clean continuing resolution plus a guaranteed vote on ACA subsidies. But House hardliners immediately dismissed it, calling it a surrender disguised as compromise, and so the impasse holds. One chamber inches toward pragmatism, the other doubles down on principle. At the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, the president faces a narrow path. According to Reuters, November 9, 2025, administration officials have quietly prepared emergency funding maneuvers, redirecting unobligated balances and tapping disaster relief accounts to keep critical operations alive. But these are stopgaps. They buy days, not solutions. Politically, the White House must walk a tightrope, push too hard and it looks heavy-handed, wait too long and it looks powerless. As one former OMB director told Politico, every shutdown eventually becomes a referendum on presidential leadership, even when the president didn't cause it. Slow zoom on the White House, tense orchestral underscore. That's the paradox of Washington. Even in paralysis, blame flows uphill.